The corridors of the Vandrel warship pulsed with a cold blue glow, like veins under synthetic skin. Sergeant Elara Myles walked silently between two guards, her bare human feet almost silent against the obsidian metal floor. They hadn't allowed her boots, claimed she wouldn't need them. The guards flanked her like zoo handlers escorting a particularly amusing exhibit. "Why does it move like that?" one Vandrel muttered. "Its center of balance is all wrong." Elara ignored them. Her breathing was slow, methodical. Every step, measured. Inside, she was counting. Not the steps, but the moments she had left before the curtain lifted. They passed through a pressure gate, entering what the aliens had grandly named the diplomatic arena. Elara knew the real purpose. Tiered seats curved overhead, filled with representatives, soldiers, and officers from across the Vandrel fleet. The room resembled an amphitheater more than a negotiation hall. In the center stood a circular platform surrounded by transparent shielding, just high enough to isolate, not enough to protect. At the far end, on an elevated throne of jagged blackstone, sat Commander Vroflek. A being of immense size, swathed in red-tinted armor laced with ceremonial gold. He leaned forward, amused. "So," he drawled, voice laced with contempt, "this is Earth's champion? They sent her?" Laughter rippled through the crowd. Elara stepped onto the platform. No greeting. No introduction. Just silence, then a long, low beep as the shield sealed her in. She looked up. Met Vroflek's eyes without flinching. "I'm not here for your amusement," she said. "But you are amusing," he replied smoothly. "So small. So bendable." More laughter. One of the Vandrel guards activated a holodisplay. It projected her vital stats: height, weight, bone density, muscle mass. The numbers were highlighted in red. Below the data, a mocking label blinked: "Unsuitable for combat, human F9." "She must break from high gravity." Just turning her head, a Vandrel engineer whispered to his neighbor. Vroflek stood, addressing the assembly. "Behold," he said, sweeping an arm, "the species that dares demand a seat at our table. They burn their own skies. They war over dirt. And they send this to prove their worth?" Elara took a deep breath. This was expected. She had reviewed hundreds of hours of footage, Vandrel war rituals, their initiation customs, even their sense of humor. Always the same: establish dominance. Break the spirit before battle begins. He descended the steps of his throne slowly, theatrically, until he was only a meter from the barrier. "I offer you a test," he said. "No weapons. No assistance. Just your body and one of our cadets. To show us what your kind can do." Elara blinked once. "You're not interested in diplomacy." "Diplomacy?" Vroflek smiled. "We're interested in entertainment." The shield dropped with a hum. A Vandrel cadet entered the ring, a young male, cocky stance, decorative blade in hand. He circled her like a predator unsure of its prey. "You may strike first," he offered, mock generosity in his voice. Elara didn't move. The cadet lunged. A quick jab, meant to scare. She sidestepped effortlessly. Another lunge, this time aiming for her torso. She pivoted, grabbed his wrist mid-swing, twisted. A crack echoed across the arena. The cadet screamed, dropping the blade. Silence fell over the crowd. Elara stepped back. "Stand down." The cadet clutched his arm, eyes wide. Vroflek's smile faded. "Enough of this. Restrain the creature." 4 guards entered. Elara didn't resist as they forced her to her knees. Her hands were bound behind her with magnetic cuffs. The crowd cheered, misreading the moment. "Your display was spirited," Vroflek said, circling her. "But parlor tricks won't make you equal. You came to prove something. All you've shown is defiance." Elara didn't answer. He leaned closer. "So, what now, human? Will you weep? Beg for transport home?" She met his gaze again. "I came to observe." Observe what? How long your arrogance would last. Vroflek's brow furrowed. He raised a hand to signal dismissal, but froze as Elara whispered 3 words. Unlock Protocol 1. The cuffs clicked and dropped to the floor. Her spine arched. A soft hum filled the air. Her veins lit beneath her skin. Then the lights in the arena dimmed. Vroflek stumbled back. What? The crowd murmured, confused. Elara stood slowly. The guards flinched. The air shimmered around her, nanite threads tightening beneath her skin, reshaping ligaments, reinforcing bone. Her voice echoed, calm, mechanical, unwavering. You asked what humans can do, she said. A pulse radiated from her chest. All weapons on deck registered critical power errors. The amphitheater's doors slammed shut. And for the first time, the Vandrel audience fell silent. Elara turned toward Vroflek. Her eyes no longer reflected light, they absorbed it. Now, she said, voice like steel drawn across stone, observe this. The warship's artificial daylight flickered once, then failed. Darkness fell over Deck 7. Emergency runners lit up in blood red. In the silence that followed, a low, rhythmic pulse echoed through the halls, like a mechanical heartbeat. Commander Vroflek stood frozen in the observation gallery, jaw clenched. Around him, officers scrambled, confused. Control terminals sparked. Multiple systems displayed errors in languages blinking too fast to process. Status report, he barked. A technician stammered, life support intact, but local power in the arena is offline. Multiple security locks disengaged. Internal sensors, blind. Blind? Vroflek snapped. How can you lose visual on one unarmed creature? The technician didn't answer. From the arena, Elara was gone. No alarm had sounded. No breach had been registered. She had vanished, and the ship, designed to restrain bioweapons, wasn't stopping her. Vroflek turned toward his second-in-command. Find her. Now. 2 decks below, Elara crouched behind a maintenance panel, eyes scanning. Her breathing was regulated. Steady. Her hands moved in silence, pulling strands of bundled fiber from her wrist, black adaptive filaments, stored beneath her skin. She connected them to the wall's nerve port. Interface active, her voice whispered. A small pupil-sized lens slid over her right eye. Code scrolled across her vision. Ship schematic. Personnel placement. Patrol rotations. Structural weaknesses. Her lips twitched. Perfect. She moved. Not like a soldier. Not like prey. Like intent given shape. Elsewhere, a squad of Vandrel enforcers advanced cautiously, rifles humming. They turned every corner with precision, scanning for heat signatures. She couldn't have gotten far, one said. She was restrained. We saw it. A panel hissed open behind them. They didn't see the blur until the third one dropped. The others spun, too slow. A crack of bone. A short scream. Then silence. 3 lay motionless. 1 remained conscious, pinned beneath her knee. Elara leaned close, her voice low. Where's the primary reactor conduit? The soldier spat. She twisted his wrist until he gasped. I'm not asking again. He nodded toward a corridor. Subdeck 8, behind the cryo vault. She rose. Thank you. He passed out before he heard her boots fade into the shadows. In the command bay, the atmosphere had shifted. Panic crept like smoke under the door. She's disabling checkpoints, a comms officer said. It's not random, she's targeting surveillance and mobility systems. Impossible, Vroflek growled. No human can bypass Vandrel security without clearance. She's not bypassing, another corrected. She's overriding. Vroflek slammed a fist onto the console. She's not a threat, she's a message. A bluff. Sir, came a voice from behind. We reviewed her entry scan again. And there was a signature. Buried. It wasn't just genetic. The officer hesitated. She's fused with something non-human. Elara moved fast now. Purpose guided every step. She passed open rooms, stunned guards, flickering terminals. Inside her, the Aegis core was fully online. Not artificial intelligence, but something older. A hybrid of Earth's last war algorithm and recovered alien biotech. It lived in her cells now. Synced with every breath, every movement. Her HUD displayed enemy movement in arcs. Danger in red. Open paths in green. Subdeck 8 was 2 corridors ahead. Her pulse quickened, not from fear, but readiness. In the cryo vault, Elara found the conduit. Thick cables hummed, surrounded by shielding. She opened her palm. Nanoblades emerged from beneath the skin, barely longer than fingers, impossibly sharp. She slid them into the seams. The lights in the corridor died. Power rerouted. Doors locked open. Systems froze in a cascade failure. All of it calculated. She tapped her comm implant. A single-channel signal pulsed, encrypted, narrow, aimed directly at the sole authority relay drone orbiting the neutral moon outside. Message sent. Time to escalate. Vroflek watched the failure spread like infection. Containment teams. Now. They're afraid, his aide whispered. Vroflek glared. She's unarmed. She was unarmed, the aide corrected. The commander stepped forward. I'll go myself. Elara paused only when she reached the central lift. She stared at her reflection in the black mirror of the door. Her pupils were rings now, concentric circles of violet and gray, shifting like liquid metal. Not fully human anymore. But still hers. The lift opened. A dozen armed Vandrel waited inside. She stepped in anyway. The doors closed. For 4 seconds, nothing. Then a muffled thud. Then another. When the lift reopened, Elara walked out alone. The bridge sealed itself the moment she arrived. Vroflek stood there, armored now, bulk enhanced by servos, claws glinting with alloy edge. I offered you mercy, he growled. You offered a stage, Elara said. You just didn't expect the performance. You mock us. No, she replied. You mocked me. I'm just returning the favor. He lunged. Fast. Brutal. But Elara was faster. She ducked under his swing, drove her elbow into the servo joint at his waist. Metal bent. He grunted and spun, claws out, catching her shoulder, but not deep. She planted a foot against his chest and launched herself backwards, skidding to a crouch. Blood ran down her arm. She welcomed it. Fight me properly, he shouted. I am fighting, she said, rising. You're just not winning. He charged again. This time, she didn't dodge. She met him head-on. Commander Vroflek hit the deck hard. The reinforced alloy beneath him dented with the force of the impact. Sparks danced across the bridge as emergency lighting bathed the room in deep crimson. He growled, dragging himself upright, armor scraping against the floor. Elara stood 5 meters away, motionless. Her stance was precise, her breathing silent. Blood trickled from a gash above her brow, but her eyes never left him. Vroflek's voice broke the silence. What are you? She didn't blink. The last mistake you'll make. He roared, charging again, shoulder down, claws raised. This time, he triggered his exo boosters, closing the distance in a blur. Elara dropped low, slid beneath him, twisted, and drove her foot into the back of his knee. The joint collapsed with a crunch. He stumbled, hissed, spun wildly, but she was already inside his guard, her elbow slammed into the side of his helmet, and a split second later, her palm opened against his chest plate. A shock pulse fired, shorting a quarter of his servo systems. He toppled forward. She let him fall. All across the ship, crew members listened to the broadcast from the bridge. Elara had routed the internal comms, every corridor, every chamber, even the hangar bays echoed with the sounds of her battle. Many expected her to scream, plead, flee. But she didn't run. She never ran. They heard a human voice, clear, steady, unbroken. And a Vandrel commander grunting in pain. Vroflek pushed up with one arm, smoke rising from his ruined armor. You're enhanced, he spat. Not strength. Something else. Mind link? Combat foresight? Experience, Elara answered. Impossible. No, she stepped closer. You just never fought someone who didn't fear you. He lunged from the floor, trying to tackle her by surprise. She sidestepped and swept his legs, letting him fall again. This time, she didn't move back. She pressed a foot against his throat. Enough, she said. He wheezed, clawed at her ankle, but his strength was draining. She leaned slightly forward. You had your theater. Now I'll show you the exit. She turned to the command console. Her fingers moved across the interface, her HUD translating Vandrel glyphs in real time. A few taps, a pulse of light, and she accessed ship-wide navigation controls. Vroflek coughed behind her. You'll never hold this ship. My officers will retake it. I don't want it, she replied, not turning around. I just need everyone to see what happens when you underestimate Earth. She activated the external comms array. The ship's main projection lens illuminated the surrounding space. Dozens of watching vessels, Union, Merchant, even pirate scouts, had been silently observing the Vandrel warship's grand display. Now they were seeing the truth. Elara's voice rang through the void. To all ships monitoring this broadcast, she began, this is Sergeant Elara Myles of the Earth Defense Initiative. Your Vandrel hosts invited me as a diplomatic gesture. I was mocked. Provoked. Attacked. Now their warship lies in silence, and their commander is defeated. She paused, let the weight settle. I'm not here to threaten. I'm here to remind you, fragility is not weakness. Kindness is not submission. And humans, do not kneel. Inside the bridge, alarms ceased. Vroflek was slumped against a railing, silent. His breathing shallow. His pride, shattered. Elara approached, crouched beside him. You wanted a spectacle. You got one. He glared, too exhausted to curse her. You made a show of dominance, she continued. I made a point. He growled weakly. You think this changes anything? Yes, she said. Because you'll live to tell it. He blinked, confused. She stood. And when they see you walk with a limp, when they hear you stutter on my name, they'll remember. In the docking bay, escape pods lined the walls. Elara entered one without ceremony. Her signal had already been received by Earth's long-range reconnaissance teams. Reinforcements wouldn't be needed, she had sent the message clearly enough. As she strapped in, the pod vibrated with startup hum. A Vandrel crewman, barely more than a cadet, stood outside the glass. He didn't aim his weapon. He didn't move to stop her. He just stared. Elara gave a faint nod. The pod launched. The stars streaked past the viewport. Elara leaned back, wiped dried blood from her cheek, and closed her eyes. She felt the ache spreading through her muscles now, the cost of pushing the fusion systems to full output. Her bones would heal. The scars would fade. The memories would not. But she had done what she came to do. Back on the warship, silence lingered. The bridge lights flickered weakly. Vroflek sat alone now, surrounded by broken tech and shattered pride. His officers wouldn't question him, not after what they saw. And neither would the galaxy. Humanity wasn't invited to the table, but now, they'd be carving their name into the steel.